Minnesota team. Amil Fragoso, who is the 49ers insider at SactownSports.com, joins us live in studio. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, man. Just a crazy finish this season. I know you've been covering this team all year long. You're going to the games. You've been at practices. It's just crazy to see that this is how this season ended.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate considering how remarkable of a story it was this year with having Brock Purdy, the third-string quarterback, mystery relevant in this year's draft, be the quarterback of the Niners, take him all the way to the NFC Championship Game. And for it to end this way, just like the Niners said yesterday, it wasn't our day. It was a missed opportunity, it felt like.
Yeah, no, that's the toughest part about it, I think, for so many Niners fans today is like, you're right there, right? And it's just, we were talking about that earlier too, even with Herm Edwards, like, it's hard to get there. And the fact that it's there, you have all the pieces ready to go to be a Super Bowl team, and you just can't get over that hump because of unfortunate things happening. I mean, we're not going to see this all the time, but do you feel like the Niners can at least continue off of where they are right now?
It's completely possible with this team, especially because they're sticking with Brock Purdy or the Trey Lance kind of scenario. We'll see what happens in the offseason, obviously, but they have all the pieces. They have all the weapons in place. A lot of the people are signed up. Nick Bosa still has another year in his contract, so that's important. But we'll see how this offseason plays out and what they want to do with the signal caller position. That's going to be the key to the Niners going back to the Super Bowl, going back to the NFC Championship Game next year.
Yeah, I mean, DeMeco Ryan sounds like he's going to end up going to the Houston Texans, which is obviously a significant loss for the defense. That defense is connected with him in a big way. It's been really good, and in large part because of what he's been able to do. They have some key free agents with Gibson, Jimmy Ward, 5 defensive linemen. It's going to be interesting to kind of see where they go from here because you mentioned some of the key pieces in place, but this defense was special this year. It's a really good defense, and you come up short because of the circumstances you were dealt. It's going to be another challenge to see kind of how they retool here.
Yeah, it's going to be a real challenge, especially considering Jimmy Ward, their nickelback / safety is going to be up at free agency. I know Fred Warner talked to him yesterday. There was a clip going around. Well, best wishes, whatever happens, man. We still love you.
Not sure. Like he was leaving.
He was leaving.
He was sounding goodbye yesterday. Honestly,
that was the hardest thing about yesterday for them is that you never get the same unit in the NFL. Every single year, it's a different group of guys, different group of people, and that's the hardest thing. Is that this team, they felt like, in their opinion, had the best chance over the years, including the Super Bowl run against the Chiefs years ago. They feel like this unit was the best one to win the Super Bowl this year. That's why it's so heartbreaking.
Wow. No, and I think so many people feel that same way. But now you look at going forward and you go, okay, what do the 49ers need to do at that quarterback position? Everything that's going on with Trey Lance, I mean, still obviously being on the team. Then you don't know what's going to happen with Brock Purdy and this elbow injury. But then you hear the rumblings of, hey, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Like, can they make a huge change?
Tom Brady was pretty much begging in the last time they played, I want to come back here. Like, he wants to be back in San Francisco, but I think a lot hinges on just Brock Purdy's health to see what direction they go there.
That's number one priority is Brock Purdy's health. It's a UCL injury, commonly referred to as a Tommy John injury for baseball players and pitchers especially. If it's torn, that's a year off, and that's a hard recovery. Who knows if he'll be the same quarterback after that? That's the real concern. If it's a sprain, great. 6 weeks, he'll be back by OTAs, no worry at all. Now, on the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady front, all that stuff, Tom Brady's kind of closed the door on that before the Bucs game a while back. He basically said, I grew up a Niners fan. I love the Niners. I'm not anymore, but I grew up a Niners fan. That was great.
He also said he was retiring, and then he didn't retire, and then he goes through a divorce.
Fair.
You trust anything this guy says?
He also said him and Giselle were fine and that they were going to stay married. And
he's a liar.
I agree.
Look, what's going to happen to the quarterback position? We really don't know for the 49ers. I will say that the Niners are up against the cap this year. Even with the increase going up to $224.8 million next year for the salary cap, they have a projected $13.7 million to work with. And that's not counting paying Jimmy Ward. That's not counting paying Mike McGlinchey. There's a lot of key pieces they have to address internally before they even think about going out and getting a big name quarterback.
And I think that's what the challenge is. I feel like they need to upgrade the offensive line too. And you don't have a ton of money to spend. You gave up a lot of draft capital when you got Trey Lance. So that's why it's just so disappointing that the season ended the way it did. It seemed like, this could be like the Cinderella story where your third string quarterback comes in, last pick of the draft, Mr. Relevant. He's able to lead you maybe to the promised land. He gets hurt on the first drive of the game. And I think we're going to be remembering that play for a long time because the image you have is them trying to block one of the premier pass rushers in the game with a backup tight end. I know those things happen. Herm Edwards, like, yeah, you don't know how they're going to line up. What do you think about that play specifically?
You know, it's hard to put your backup tight end going against Hassan Reddick, who is having arguably his best season in the NFL, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, playing outside linebacker for the Eagles, coming over from Arizona actually to play outside linebacker for the Eagles, which is kind of a wild situation. But yeah, no, Kyle didn't back down. He stood up and said, no, this is part of the offense. This is part of what we do. We have guys do that. Same thing happened with Kittle on a different play formation. Bring him over, try to get Reddick. Didn't happen. Didn't work. It's hard. It's part of their play action. They want to have long setup play action plays, but you have to understand that, hey, this guy's on that. I wouldn't say on the Nick Bosa level, but he's on he's on the echelon of those. You got to really game plan for this guy. You got a singular game plan. So that's the challenge of that.
So do you think Kyle Shanahan as a head coach overlooked far too many things, made too many mistakes in a game this big? I mean, we even had a caller early on that was talking about how like he makes life dangerous for quarterbacks on the field. And that's why we're seeing this injury history with these quarterbacks. I mean, what's your opinion on just this game and Kyle Shanahan as a coach?
It kind of, you could feel it going askew as soon as Devontae Smith caught that ball and they didn't challenge it. That was the biggest thing.
I mean, even before the Fred Warner going, I know he came back in the game. That's when I was like, oh God, like, is this the type of game you're seeing? But you're right. That play really messed some things up.
Yeah. And Kyle even said afterwards, he's talking about it. He goes, you know, we had time to challenge. I just didn't want to waste a challenge because we didn't get all the camera angles everyone else did.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, just take a timeout and then you go to halftime. You didn't use one timeout. And so those are little things. Then I rewind and go, okay, even if they don't score there, and they have to punt, you lose Brock Purdy. Yeah. And I even think with Brock Purdy, this was going to be a challenge. You know, I picked the Eagles before the game, and I thought it was going to be a really good game. I thought it was going to be a classic game, but I thought the crowd was going to be a factor. And we keep talking about one guy that can rush the passer. Dude, they had 70+ sacks this year, right? The most of any team since the 85 Bears. They get after the quarterback, and there's nothing that says that they couldn't have won that game even if Purdy was healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge. The Eagles' defensive line is a big challenge, and the Niners learned really quick that the Eagles love playing bully ball. They love being more physical than you and being more aggressive or violent than you. Even as aggressive as the Niners are on defense, the Eagles rival that and then some. That's why they're going to the Super Bowl game, and the offensive line, Mike McGlinchey especially, got worked.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those picks that I remember how hyped it was when they picked him, and just been disappointing. He lost weight, did all this. You know, he's had some games where, maybe he's turning the corner. I can't imagine him.
You know who would have been better with that pick? Derwin James.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, when you big picture stuff with the Niners, and this is always what we do as we dissect the end of a season, right? It's like we start, okay, what about this? What about this? And you also have the perspective of, this season's pretty magical when you consider that if any other team goes to their third string quarterback, you're winning 4 games this year.
Right. Yeah.
They were still able to go to the NFC Championship game. But I think in the Lynch Shanahan era, you've had misses on picks in the first round. And those hurt you. I mean, Solomon Thomas is one that comes to mind with a big time miss there. Javon Kinlaw. And then, you know, who knows what Trey Lance is going to be, but you gave up a lot for a guy to be your quarterback. And here we are entering year 3. And we don't really know. And part of it is because of the injuries, but we just don't know what to expect. Yeah.
Brock Purdy has played more games than Trey Lance. Think about that.
That's insane.
Just like they drew it up.
Yeah. Well, but how crazy is it though, too? I mean, you could look around the league though. This is you guys, it's all about perspective too. Because you can look around the league and go, oh, so everyone missed on Mr. Irrelevant, right? Yeah, all these other teams missed on him as well. Yeah. And then you have the Niners having been forced to give him an opportunity, and he crushes it, right? Yeah. So it really is perspective. I don't know why I find myself like sticking up for Kyle Shanahan.
I mean, you should. They had a great year.
No, I know, but I think a lot of people too, like, we go to the blame game, right? And obviously you're going to blame the leader first. And then after the leader, it goes the quarterback. And then after the quarterback, you know, it just goes down to penalties and wherever else you want to go with things. And you look at some of the penalties, even in this game, if we want to dissect more of what went wrong in this specific game. You look at those penalties and they're really tough to look back at and think, okay, how can the Niners change this stuff going forward?
Yeah, it just unlucky. It was a really unlucky game for them. Looking at the stats, the Eagles had 7 first downs for penalties. 7. The Niners, 0.
And that's brutal.
That's brutal.
I mean, and when you look at even Jalen Hurts' numbers, he didn't kill you, but he didn't make a mistake. And that's the difference, right? And I don't know. I also feel like we spend so much time analyzing all these things that happen. Oh, some of the missed calls, the replay review. The second Purdy goes down, the game's pretty much over. And at halftime, it's 21-7. You had no chance. And then Josh Johnson goes out. You got to put Purdy back in the game? We've never seen a game where you go, hey, you have a quarterback. He can't throw.
Yeah.
And just at a base level, you're going, hey, can McCaffrey go? Use check. Jawan Jennings was a 4-star prospect at quarterback. Your options were terrible, and that's all you had. You weren't winning this game against this talented team in Philly with these circumstances. So people can point fingers at Shanahan, this pick, or he should have done this. Dude, can you keep your guy on the floor, on the field? And they couldn't do it, unfortunately.
Niners had a history of not being able to keep their guys on the field. You look at how the season started.
Yeah.
They were without so many players. Dre Greenlaw gets hurt. Jimmy Ward's out for the start of the year. I mean, there's so many ways this Niners team has overcome adversity. They were the healthiest of any team going into the postseason this year.
Wow.
Well, healthiest. All they were losing was Jimmy Garoppolo. That was it.
It's tough. It's tough. So a lot of big questions headed into the offseason. Oh, what can we expect from you at Sactown Sports? For people who don't know, you cover the 49ers at SactownSports.com.
I do. I cover the 49ers here at Sactown Sports, my first year, now going into my second. That's crazy to say.
Hell yeah.
Crazy
That's
to
awesome.
say. It's been a wild ride this year. A lot of fun covering the Niners. You can find me at my Twitter at Amil Fragaso, as well as at Sactown Sports 1140. And if you're not following us, give us a like, give us a comment, everything like that. Come on now, guys. We're company here.
Yeah. And of course, he's got it all covered. I mean, he was at practices this year. He's at games, so make sure to check out his work. Dude, we appreciate you joining us, man.
Of course, guys. Pleasure to be here.
All right, coming up next, we'll talk some more Kings basketball. Kings and T-Pups tonight. This is a big game. We'll discuss that. Talk to you guys as well. Deuce and Mo on Sactown Sports.